Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome. I am Rev Melissa. I am a interfaith minister, and I am so thrilled to be with you today for our Living Life in Joy show. And the Living Life in Joy show is different from Sit with Rev Melissa. On this show, we have the opportunity to meet people who are connected to their yes. So for me, this is another vehicle that I can use to spread joy in the world with other folks. So we are celebrating today, we are celebrating Black History Month. February is recognized as Black History Month, but it's 24/7, 365 days that we celebrate Black history. So without further ado, let's go, set, ready. All right, we're back. We're back. Do y'all like my t-shirt? It says eracism. I love this t-shirt. I got it when I was in Martha's Vineyard. So shout out to C'est La Vie and all this wonderfulness, because thank you. This is what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about eracism, and we're talking about it in the context of, let me bring him on, of Sekou Wright's work. So y'all know Sekou. He is my producer for Living Life in Joy. He is a professional creator. He is a author, a screenwriter. He is a jewelry maker. He is a half marathon runner. He is so many things. So let's welcome Sekou Wright to Living Life in Joy so we can get this celebration of Blackness going. Hey,
that was a long list of things.
Long, you be doing stuff.
I guess so. I guess I've been doing a couple things.
Yeah.
I like the new one, half marathon runner. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Runner. I did that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So how are you?
I'm good. Actually, today was day 2 of half marathon training, which is funny because I've already run in between day 1 and day 2. I already ran a half marathon. So I'm trying to get faster.
Today 250 days?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Come on. We need some fireworks.
Yeah, we got to do the fireworks. For day 250, just so people know what I'm talking about, I've been running every day, at least a mile a day for now 250 days in a row. I started on June 1st, and we're going to hit some fireworks.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. That is worthy of some fireworks. So we're celebrating, Sekou, we're celebrating Black History Month, and we're celebrating it in a very specific way. So I'm going to let you key us up for the focus of today's show.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I do a lot of different things. And one of the things that I do is I write about cars. So people usually have a question mark on their face when I say that. But it's like if you were going to buy a refrigerator, you would Google it and you would read the reviews of the refrigerators. So I do that. I write reviews of cars. So I fell into it. It's not something I set out to do. I was working at a magazine. I ended up writing that section of the magazine. One thing kind of led to another. Anyway, as a result of test driving these cars, sometimes I have situations come up because I am a Black man. And sometimes being a Black man in a fancy car can create some situations. Mm-hmm. So one of those times I happened to be filming. Like I'm not always filming. Sometimes I'm just driving. But this time I happened to be filming. And so after the altercation, I decided to turn the experience into a film of sorts. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really sure what it was going to be. Like in the beginning, honestly, it was still a review of the car, mm-hmm. but it included what happened to us. And that was a little bit confusing for both sides because people who were trying to see the car were like, wait, what's happening with all this racism? And then people were there for the racing, like, why are we watching the car drive around? So over time, over some years now, I've trimmed and edited and shifted some things around so that it is now categorized as a documentary short. It's called Test Driving While Black, and it is about essentially one of my experiences of literally test driving while black.
Okay. Well, let's key it up. Let's show it.
All right.
And then let's talk about it after.
We're going to get this going. And I'm going to take this out.
I know you were in Nashville at one point test driving again, and you and your friend were accosted by the police there.
This happened not long after the verdicts came down for Mike Brown and Eric Garner. And like a lot of people, I was upset by the verdicts. I had already done Mommy on the Move, which was about Black women driving these cars. And I wanted to do Black men at first just to show intelligent, articulate Black men, period. I felt like that was a media image that needed to be out there, that people out there in the world needed to see Black men being smart. My second decision was to ask my first interviewee to wear a hoodie in silent homage to Trayvon Martin. We weren't going to talk about it. We were just going to have him wear this hoodie. He actually did not own a hoodie. We had to go to Walmart the day of the shoot and buy one because he's a three-piece suit, bow tie, pocket square kind of guy, very well dressed. So anyway, we did that, and a few minutes into us taking pictures of him standing next to the vehicle before we even started the shoot per se, we were accosted by these two white men who were not police officers, who had no position of authority. They just didn't like, I guess, the optics of these two Black men, one of whom was in a hoodie, in this vacant lot. And they came to challenge us about where we were and why we were there and what we were doing. Then one of them started reaching under his sweatshirt as if he had a gun. It got worse before it got better, because then once we calmed down and they calmed down, then they started trying to sell us things that were stereotypically Black, like barbecue ribs, pork chops. When they finally left, we couldn't do what we set out to do, which was talk about the car, because we were too upset.
Yes.
So I asked him on camera to tell me about what just happened.
Man, we're sitting out there beginning to make some shots of the car, and the guy walks up, white male, certainly uneducated, began to try to sell us items that were of interest, that he thought might be of interest to a Black male, a car with rims on it that is sitting in his family's home or property behind the home in the woods. Just a really unsettling piece with him. I've been reading a book called White Like Me by Tim Wise. And one of the things that Tim Wise mentions is that there is just this natural piece of privilege and comfort that comes with having been born white in America. And what Tim Wise was suggesting actually showed in that young man this morning, that because he was white, because he was male, I think he felt comfortable with being in a natural position of authority. Me being a Black male and having a son really causes a little fear that any Black male it could be probable that they could have that same kind of confrontation. It makes me really concerned about what people think of us because of maybe just some other images in the media. Not necessarily who we actually are, but what they think we may be. My son had a substitute teacher a couple of days ago. He and I were talking about the image that we present of ourselves. And he was telling me how his substitute teacher was pretty hard on him throughout the day, making him not talk, making him sit down. And he kept saying that even the moments that she was telling him not to talk, it was when he was answering questions for the class, or when he had gotten up to maybe go sharpen a pencil, that she was really hard on him, as he thought, unnecessarily. By the end of the day, the teacher said to him, "Hey, you're nothing like what I thought you were." He said to me that he didn't understand what that meant until he and I were having a conversation about what we present of ourselves to others and how we dress makes an unknown statement to others because of what has been presented to them and maybe images in the media or what they just come to understand of race period. Substitute teacher who did not know that he's a straight A student. Substitute teacher who does not know that he just generally likes history period. That the substitute teacher was mistreating him based on just how he looked. So it made me really concerned about what conversations I am not having with my children that I need to constantly make sure that I am having. Just making sure that they're more aware of the statement that they're making solely by the attire that they choose in the mornings. I remember being asked while I was at Morehouse College in the class in poli-sci, um, why do black people riot if what has gone on around the country was the same situation that I experienced in the 90s with Rodney King? It wasn't that we decided to burn our own neighborhoods. It was that we were actually pushed into our own neighborhoods by the police departments. And there we were allowed to explode in our own anger, which leads me to my second point. Anger really never has a position of logic, or it's not meant to be rational. When you're angry, you normally respond in irrational ways. In rioting and burning our neighborhoods, we're not doing it because it makes sense. We're doing it because we're angry, we're bothered. And not angry just because of the recent situation. This has been a piece that has been boiling inside minorities for, who knows, decades. Decades in my case, probably centuries among generations. Was not much has changed. Never really gave the hoodies a whole lot of thought until all of the things that were happening with black men in our country and police officers. My personal feeling about hoodies, they're actually quite comfortable, especially when I put the hood on itself. I really wonder if people can see me or what they, may think of me if I'm trying to hide as opposed to trying to keep warm.
Yes, yes, yes. Sekou. So, your closing credits at a Sekou Rights situation. And it's a situation indeed. It's a situation in this country that continues, right? And I was struck by something that Rush said in that piece when he was quoting the book White Like Me. And he said that there's privilege and comfort that comes with having been born white in America. So, as a Black man in America, what would you say comes with having been born Black in America? Because it's not privilege and it's not comfort.
Right. I would say, speaking from my own experience, I know some other folks have said different things, but speaking from my own experience, at some point you come into an awareness of your Black maleness. Mm-hmm. Up until that point, you're just you. But at some point you recognize that people are responding to you in a certain way because you happen to be Black and you happen to be male. And for some of us, it's more dramatic than others. Mm-hmm. And certainly in my life, there were many experiences that led me in that direction, and they started early. They started, maybe fourth grade. I think the earliest one I can remember is fourth grade, and I'll just share this story. I remember I was a dancer when I was a kid. I was a ballet dancer, if you could believe that. And I was fairly good. I was fairly good because I had already taken gymnastics, so I brought the skill set of gymnastics to dance. And so I was, without meaning to, I was doing pretty well. And it was an all-Black school, but I was doing so well that I got put up for a role in the Nutcracker citywide. So I was one of the representatives from that school to go over to audition. And I didn't get the part, but I outdanced a lot of the kids in my group. Mm-hmm. And so I was confused because if I didn't get the part, but they did better than me, I'm like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Right. But I did pretty well. And I could tell that I did pretty well. So I guess I asked about it a lot, and I kept bringing it up and bringing it up and bringing it up. And I don't remember who said something to me, but someone finally asked me, what's the difference between you and the ones who were selected? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I was the only Black kid in the room. Mm-hmm. And then when we saw the finished production, my parents took me to see the finished production, and there were no Black kids on stage. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those early experiences where I was like, oh, who I am, how I look affects the way people see me. Mm-hmm. And I think, for me at least, that has continued throughout my life.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, it is. It's not like it's something that you can put away. It starts to accumulate over time, right? And I know part of what Test Driving While Black is seated in Brown Boy Mad, right? And if folks notice, it said excerpted from Brown Boy Mad. So what was that all about? And how is that reflective of your experience as a brown boy? And are you mad?
It's right there behind me, Brown Boy Mad. That's the flyer for it. And yeah, one of the early questions that people ask me when they interview me about that piece is, are you mad? Mm-hmm. And I say, yeah, I'm mad. I don't express it. I don't harbor it. I don't wear it on my sleeve. But the cumulative experiences of being a Black man in America can wear on you when there's that uncertainty about how people will react to you in certain situations. And, stand-up comics do a lot with it to make it light, right? To make light of it. But you watch Black male comics talk about racism, and you'll learn a lot of stuff about what we experience and our efforts to carry it lightly. Mm-hmm. And some days it's easier than others because often you just forget. You just live in your life. And then something happens that reminds you, like, oh, right. And so there's many of those. Anyway, I wrote this play. It's an autobiographical play called Brown Boy Mad. And I mounted it at Fisk University. And when I was creating the play, I felt like there were other things that I'd already done that should be incorporated into the play. So I grabbed a song that I'd written a while ago and I put that in the play. And I grabbed this film that I created before the play and put it together because it's like this same narrative thread throughout even though they're different pieces. That makes the stage play multimedia. You've got these different elements, but these different elements speak to the same sense of dis-ease, not like sickness, but dis-ease with the way this society says we live in a post-racial America, but then that doesn't always match. It doesn't always match and mesh with what we experience out there in the world. So yeah, all that was my effort to put some things together, kind of like a jambalaya of sorts about race and racism and my own personal experiences with it.
Yeah. And if folks haven't seen Brown Boy Mad, is it on YouTube?
So it got picked up by American Legacy Network, which is a network that's very much like YouTube. I'm sorry, YouTube. You said
Netflix.
YouTube. Yeah, like Netflix. It's a black version of Netflix. So you pay a monthly subscription, and it's all this content on there. They've got, some old school films, Ozzie Davis and Ruby D and stuff like that. Some really interesting content. They also have the stage reading, of Brown Boy Mad available on their network. So you can check that out. And you can also go to my website, sekurights.com, and you can see some other ways to check it out as well.
Okay, cool. So, I mentioned this T-shirt that I'm wearing, Eracism, and I was thinking about a quote that I recently read by Wayne Dyer, I believe, and he's talking about having world peace, and that the only way that we can have world peace is if individually we are at peace, And so if we want to erase racism, that would mean what to you?
So I have a couple of different answers. One of the pieces in my play is called Edits, and it's about erasing the N-word from our vocabulary. And so there's that. There's, some structural things that we could do to affect how we talk about ourselves and therefore how other people talk about us. But yes, for sure, all of that happens internally, right? It all starts with you. Like I intended it to be just a suggestion for a way that we could possibly shift the way that we interact with each other individually to affect the collective, and then therefore affect the outer collective, the mainstream population, right? But many times when I came to FIST to visit, I would hear them using this piece. Like instead of using the N-word to refer to each other, they were using my suggestion from the piece. So then I was like, oh wow, this could happen in real life. But it starts with an individual hearing and deciding, hey, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this small choice to change the way other people see me. And the same thing with that quote is like, it all starts from within, no matter what it is. No matter what it is you're trying to change, it all starts from within. And you can make lots of small decisions within you to affect peace within you, and that trickles out to other people. Like if you're living in a peaceful way and there's challenges around you and you respond peacefully, you are no doubt going to inspire someone to adjust themselves to move in the same kind of way. There's a ripple effect always.
That's right. And so we're here on New Thought Media Network, right? And this platform has been very supportive of both myself and of Sekou. And we've even shown test driving while Black, right?
Yep.
On New Thought Media Network. Yeah. And I believe it was from that exposure that you got connected to another group who was interested in you showing test driving while Black and having a talk back about it. And it was a mainly white audience that had viewed the test driving while Black. Right. So, allies, right? Allies who are also mad and angry about racism in this country and want to do something about it, but aren't quite sure what to do. And so I believe in that piece, it was about exposure and education and having them understand like this happens, like the shock of it all is not our reality.
Right.
We're more like, yeah, again, you know? So what is that like for you, sharing and having a talk back with allies who are seeking to position themselves in a way to erase racism?
Yeah. I was nervous, to be sure, and also very gratified that they reached out to have that conversation, to show this film to their audience, and to have a talk back with me and with Rush. He was there too.
Mm-hmm.
And what stood out the most to me was, the outrage, the shock and the outrage that they experienced is not something that we experience. Like, this is not new to us. But it's interesting seeing their experience of it. And what resonated for them mostly was these are situations that they could relate to. It wasn't theoretical. It was very real. Like driving a car and having something like this happen was very real. And he and I both told some other stories like this from our history, from our past, and they could understand how those issues could be, those experiences could be challenging. And I think often when allies hear about racism, they hear about it in the abstract. Like they need to not do whatever, but they don't hear personal stories. Like, this is what happened to me. This is how it made me feel. This is how it affected my life decisions ever since then. Like when they hear those stories, they're like, oh, wow, they can sink their teeth into it more. And I hope make decisions about how to move in a different kind of way when they see something like that happen around them.
That's right. And that is so important, because a lot of times we're looking for the big, the big gesture, but it doesn't have to be a big gesture. It could just be you see something and it's not right, directed towards a Black person, you speak to it. You use your voice, you use your privilege, right? Is a very effective way of making a difference, of involving yourself, like really involving yourself in this, in healing this, in healing this.
There's a really brief story I want to tell. There was a woman who was checking out in a supermarket, and the cashier asked her for all her ID, this, that, the other. But the white woman who had gone through before her, they didn't ask her about this. And that white woman turned around and said, why did you ask that Black woman for all those things and you didn't ask me for them? And that changed the whole situation. So little things like that, just asking a question sometimes, coming from a white person, a person of privilege, can change the whole situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you are wondering, to our allies out there, if you are wondering, what can I do, right? Racism is such a big thing, right? To behold, to hold, to deal with. What can I do? You can do something every day. Every day you can do something that will change the experience for a Black person. Just look around, be aware, and use your voice and use your privilege to do so. So, all right, we could keep. I don't feel like this is an end point, but
I know, right?
but maybe it's a pause. Maybe it's just a pause. And I'm going to wrap up the show just by saying this: if people are not aware, one of the things that New Thought Media Network is doing for Black History Month, to celebrate it, to acknowledge it, to educate about the wonderful things that Black folks have done throughout the history, is showcasing a Black historical figure and reading a prayer about racial healing. So they're doing that every day. They started February 1st. Or I should say we started February 1st. I will be showcasing my Black History moment tomorrow. I said tomorrow, Sunday. That's what I should say. Sunday And just check it out every single day in February, and you will see a Black History moment right here on New Thought Media Network. I want to say thank you to Robert, who is the creator of New Thought Media Network, for using his platform as an ally to do this and to bring us together in this movement of racism. All right. All right, y'all. So that is the show. Living Life in Joy, celebrating Black History Month. Know that you can do something. Know that you can do something. Show up and be an expression and an example of the oneness that we all are. But it starts with us. It starts with each one of us. So peace and blessings, peace and justice. We're living life in joy, connected to our yes.